everyone, my name's Judy.
And I'm Jordan. Welcome to our brand new YouTube channel where we're going to dive into all things DIY, design, and creativity. We're super excited to have you here.
This channel is all about empowering DIY enthusiasts like yourselves to transform your space into something you truly love. Whether you're looking for design inspiration, practical tips, or secondhand flips, you're in the right place.
And along the way, we're going to be sharing some of our favorite tools, go-to techniques, and our unique design approach to hopefully spark your creativity and bring your next project to life.
On this channel, you'll see us dive into woodworking, sewing, and stained glass art and get a behind-the-scenes look at our interior design and 3D modeling process. We'll be making furniture and custom decor with the ultimate goal of making our house cozy and functional.
And part of our goal here is to make DIY feel doable. So whether you've been at it for years or you're just picking up a tool for the first time, we have insights and advice to help inspire your next project.
We're kicking things off today with a tour of our 160-year-old house. We moved in a while back and we've been documenting our journey along the way. We're excited to show you how we've transformed our space with rental-friendly DIYs.
And we'll start by taking a look at how the house looked right when we moved in and some of our initial design ideas. And then throughout this series, we're going to get you caught up to where we are now and all the progress we've made.
So let's get started. Let's take a look back in time at where it all began.
I thought we were going to do that.
Okay, here we are with the house tour, and we'll be starting in the sunroom, which is essentially a 3-season porch, which has exterior windows on 3 sides and lets in a bunch of good natural light. However, the space is unconditioned, so it does get cold in the winter and warm in the summer. But there is this wraparound portion which leads into the kitchen, which you'll notice has black and white vinyl tile floors and this blue tile countertop throughout. However, this space still has big windows to let in a bunch of good natural light and a lot of storage as well. We'll move next into the bathroom, which continues with a smaller black and white vinyl tile floor and bespoke tile at the sink and in the shower as well. This door here leads into the bedroom, which creates good flow from the rest of the house. And in the bedroom, we have laminate wood floors, a sizable closet with full-length mirrors, and a patio off the back. And we'll turn into the living room, which has a bold blue carpet and an entrance back into the kitchen. And as we walk through the kitchen, we'll start making our way downstairs into the basement space. This is a mostly unfinished basement that has extra storage, like down here at the base of the stairs, and also some extra workspace, as well as the laundry and an extra utility sink. There's also a second bathroom down here and the guest bedroom, which ends up being one of the first projects that we tackle at this house because we wanted to make sure we had a place for friends and family to stay when they visit. So if you're interested in seeing us turn this blank canvas of a room into a cozy guest suite, like and subscribe and stick around for that video coming soon. As we move into the bathroom, we'll notice we continue with the bespoke tile at pretty much every surface. Finally, we'll take a peek at the backyard.
Thanks for joining us on that tour of the initial walkthrough video of the house. Next, we're going to be getting into our 2D design process, and we're going to be primarily using the iPad and an app called Procreate.
So first thing in our design process is we like to either find or create a floor plan. And in our case, luckily, there was one that came with the listing. So all we had to do was import that into Procreate and get started.
Yeah, so the first thing that we did after downloading and importing the floor plan into Procreate was kind of get some of the initial building blocks that were already existing in the space. Finishes at the floor and like existing cabinets, utility things like the washer and dryer. So real quick, I'll just open up the layers panel in Procreate, and down at the bottom I added this one layer here where we have just kind of sketched out a few different things like the black and white vinyl tile floor in the kitchen, some wood in the sunroom. Also noting that there's like spots in here that were kind of blocked off from us, so I graded those out. These blocks we looked at in the walkthrough video, so we have just drawn out like the water heater, the sink, washer and dryer, like all of those kind of things, and all the things here in the kitchen. We just kind of sketched out as much as we could remember from the video tour, because remember, we were doing this like right after that tour because we were super eager to kind of get our designs on paper.
And next, we like to take stock of what we already own. So that's going to include our furniture, our existing lamps, rugs, all those things, so that when we get in the space, we can use what we already have and see how that fits within the floor plan. We want to then analyze the flow and the function of each of our rooms. That's going to be really helpful in determining how we'll place our furniture, and also just like what's going to feel right when you're moving through the space.
You don't actually have to draw the arrows, I guess, but it helps to kind of visualize whenever you enter the space, different paths and flows that you would typically walk. And then you have these kind of like voids and areas that maybe could take more furniture and stuff like that. So you want to leave open paths from door to door. For instance, walking all the way through the kitchen, there's like a path here that you want to like leave open, so maybe you're putting furniture more on these wings, and so it helps to kind of draw out those things and just keep that in mind throughout your design process.
Yep. All right, so let's just get started and show how we designed each room, or iterate through the design of each room.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and we can start with the living room. That's kind of one of the first ones that we were thinking of, particularly because we already had a bunch of furniture that we knew we wanted to put in the living room. Mm-hmm. For instance, we have an entertainment center and a sofa or a couch. So those pieces we initially put and drew here more or less to scale. We got out a tape measure, we measured those at least in like the width and length dimensions, and then sketched those onto the floor plan, because luckily for this floor plan, they also gave us some dimensions here. So we were able to use that to kind of create a sense of scale from the pieces that we already have.
There's also a ton of windows, and
True.
We didn't want to block that with any large furniture such as our entertainment center. So that was really the only wall that worked on, because it would have covered up half of each window, and we just didn't want to block any natural light that we could have gotten. And since the space is so small, we didn't want to angle it out, so that left only one place for the couch to go, which was on the opposite wall, which happens to work out in our space.
So let's just talk about kind of how we initially thought we would design this living room. Like Judy was saying, we wanted to leave open flows into all the other spaces. So in this iteration, we put our entertainment center, sofa, coffee table like thing over on this side. And then on this side, we decided to do kind of like a sitting room.
Yeah, it's again another kind of like awkward space. We didn't know how to use it. We did want to expand the amount of seating in the living room, so we thought maybe we could have like a little reading, talking area that doesn't necessarily look at the TV, but is its own little defined area. And since we had some existing furniture, such as these dressers, we figured it could make like a cute little credenza to put things on.
Right.
And we would divide the room and make them feel like separate spaces with different rugs. And one thing we felt that we needed to include was a table behind our couch. Yes. Because our dog likes to look out the window for when we're coming home and just during the day to watch what's happening on the street. So we wanted to provide a little space that he could sit on to what we call keep post.
So that's his post. So it's really good because when we come home, like our car like parks like almost like right here. So if he's sitting here, he has like pretty good vision of when we arrive home. So that's definitely a must-have in our house.
Yeah. Should we move on to the bedroom or check out the sunroom where we enter?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do the sunroom. That sounds
Okay.
good. One of the main things is like our sunroom kind of functions like a mud room. So we come in through the front door, and the first thing we do is we're going to take off our shoes. So we wanted to have a big storage, and we actually have a ton of shoes. We have a bunch of boots and like tennis shoes, sandals, and all that stuff. So we wanted to have a place that was like storing all of those in like an organized way.
Yeah, we don't want it to look messy, and we are a no shoe household, so those have to stay there.
But yeah, so we wanted to put a shoe rack in there. We were thinking about putting like just some kind of like seating chairs, like maybe making like a banquette kind of situation over here with some cushions and like a table or something. One thing I'll note is like these little white blocks that are right here are actually existing like cantilevered tables that the previous owner like installed. So those are like fixed positions. So when I was doing the initial floor plan, I went ahead and sketched those in as well.
Yeah, and they stored like a lot of plants in there because it's kind of like a sunroom. The whole exterior is made of windows, as y'all saw in the walkthrough video. So we're thinking we'll use it in a similar way because that's just a great place to keep plants. And initially, like when brainstorming, we've seen a lot of really cute like covered porches and like seating areas, and kind of imagine having coffee out there, reading a book, doing things in that like great sunny space. So that's why we're just playing around with the idea of adding in some like seating out there. We'll see how that pans out in the future. Should we move on to the bedroom?
So in the bedroom, we actually had a few existing pieces as well that we're going to be working with, namely a bed and also like one more dresser. So this is dresser that we had that was like a pair with the one that was in the living room at this point.
Because there are doors on either ends of the wall and also doors to the balcony, there was really only one good place to put the bed, and it just so happened to work out that it nicely fit between the two exterior windows and created some nice symmetry if we placed the bed in that location.
Yeah. And it just so happened that like the space between the windows is roughly the size of a queen bed, which is what we were working with.
And then we had to think about the function of our house because both of us work remote.
True.
From home part of the week. So we need to figure out a place where we're going to put our desks. And we had a couple different options within the house, such as like the living room, our bedroom, or even down in the basement in that extra room. And ultimately, we thought that the bedroom might be the best place because, as you can see from this floor plan, it's quite large. So we wanted to try to fit in our desks along that large blank wall in the bedroom. We thought we could do some nice like design feature, like build bookshelves and things like that to make it look library-esque. And we thought that could be a nice vibe in our room. And maybe we'd even build in some type of storage that conceals the monitor so that when we're not working, it doesn't look like we're in our office.
Another thing to mention here is that Judy and I, we sit next to each other at our desks. So like having this like big long desk was always kind of the original idea.
So let's move on to the kitchen.
Yeah, and in the kitchen we were just working with one main piece of existing furniture, so that was our dining table. And that was like one of those tables that you can add leaves to turn it into an oval shape or a circular shape. And since there's this large open space next to the cabinetry along the wall, we thought that could be a great place to put a banquette, something that just add extra seating, make it a little more cozy, and fill out that opening. So in this case, we would push our table to the other side of the room. And if we did put the table in this layout, we would probably add like another little like credenza or something to put plants on, or just have more storage in the kitchen over here. Yeah, so next let's just take a look downstairs at that guest bedroom that we were looking at in the video tour. One of the original thoughts that we had was, of course, we wanted to have like a guest bed. So whenever people came, they could sleep there as well. But in my selfishness, I also wanted like a personal private music studio, and it seemed like it could be like kind of tucked away. I could have like a keyboard down there, like an extra like computer, and just hang up some instruments on the wall or something, and just have that as like a dedicated space. So that's kind of like just a quick little idea that we're thinking of for that downstairs bedroom. Okay, so that was kind of an overview of our initial 2D design process, looking at each of the rooms and some of our existing furniture and how that might lay out into the space. And what we did next after this phase was take it a step further and actually pull this design into a 3D model.
Yeah, that's going to help us get a better feel for how our furniture will actually sit in the space and how tight it feels once we lay things out. So stick around, we're going to hop into that next.
Okay, so now we're going to be hopping into the 3D model, and for this we're going to be using Blender, which is a free and open source 3D modeling software that we've used for years, namely because it's free and open source, which makes it really accessible. So if you're interested in using Blender specifically, I'd recommend looking at some YouTube tutorials on getting started. In this video, we're going to focus specifically on how we used it for interior design, and in later videos we'll dive a little bit deeper into using this model throughout the whole house project, and also specifically looking at woodworking, different types of small projects, and how you can utilize Blender for a number of things, such as making like a cut list for your woodworking projects. So stay tuned for those videos, but for now we're going to hop into the house model and just take a look at what we've done to elevate the Procreate floor plan into a three-dimensional space to kind of further explore different layouts and stuff like that. Okay, so we have our house model, and for this I've done a few things. It's still a rough model, but it does have some higher fidelity aspects as far as like some finishes, windows, and stuff like that. To start out from the outside, we did put this on like a sloped plane with just some grass texture, just to kind of give that vibe of our house being on a slope. But looking from the top, this should look familiar as the floor plan for the house we're looking at, and some of the initial design layouts. And what I wanted to do for this part of the video is just kind of dive a little bit deeper into the 3D model and see how we use it to kind of help orient ourselves with where certain pieces could go, and yeah, just kind of continue the iteration of the design process. So kind of scrolling around here, what's nice about Blender is you can also do it into a fly mode, where you kind of like actually walk through the building here. So kind of coming into the first part here in the living room, we can see we've kind of modeled in really rough, blocky versions of our furniture. So this is the entertainment center and the sofa, and we've dropped a rug in there as well. And you'll see over here that we have a little console table behind the sofa too, where we want to set up a spot for our dog to kind of rest and look out the window. Over on this side of the living room, we have some simple blocked out furniture for that kind of seating area with these two chairs and one of the dressers that we have. And right now in the model, we have a really like low fidelity blocked out kind of thing. But the chairs, for instance, are a little bit higher quality. We just downloaded those off the internet. And if you're interested in where to get those, we'll add some links into the description for good sources for 3D models. But yeah, so this is kind of one of the first design iterations that we were thinking of for the living room. So you'd walk in, you'd kind of have it split between two different rooms defined by two different rugs. And yeah, you'd have this, and you'd be able to walk through over to the kitchen. And we have the kitchen with just 4 chairs and kind of that oval shaped table. And you can see in here we've also modeled the cabinets, the sink, and added some finishes. So the floor and the countertops, these are all kind of more or less modeled as they were found in the video tour. Very simple block furnitures for our fridge and stove here. But yeah, so I think with one of the advantages of Blender is that you can quickly put together very simple block shapes, and you can make them all to scale and to size. So what we did with this one is we dropped the image of that black and white floor plan directly into Blender. And then from that, we just drew and raised up the walls, modeled in the windows, and then started putting in finishes at the floor and also building some of the furniture out. And it helped us kind of just visualize what it would feel like to be walking through that space. So moving over to the bedroom, you can see in this version we have our bed here with very simple just blocks for like what would be nightstand tables, and then kind of an early stage idea of what our desks could look like. So this is going to be essentially 2 folks sitting right next to each other with like a cabinet or something in between. Not very designed at the moment, but this is kind of the silhouette, if you will, of the desk that we're thinking about building. And then over in this part, we have the other dresser that we are thinking of putting in the corner over here, just because it fits really. But yeah, so this is the bedroom, and I think right away we kind of noticed this in the floor plan a little bit, but even more acutely in the 3D model, is that when these chairs are put in, it really kind of constricts the flow to walk from like the living room into the bedroom and through back to the bathroom. So this is getting like really tight, especially if someone was sitting here, you'd have to almost like crawl over the bed as you're moving through. So that brings us to kind of one of the first design options that we were kind of looking at for this bed desk combination. So the other option we were thinking about and we talked about in the floor plan was actually removing this from the bedroom and changing out the seating area in the living room to add in the desks into the living room and essentially add some dressers into the bedroom. And I think if we hop back into the floor plan here, so our living room would have this kind of seating area with like entertainment center situation going on. And this side of our living room would be more so dedicated to workstations. And I think the flow for this works really well because as you walk through here, this is a quite large opening. So you still have plenty of room to kind of move through from the living room to the kitchen. And then looking at the bedroom, these are just dressers. They have drawers that pull out, but overall this kind of whole run here is still pretty wide open. The bathroom, we really haven't modeled anything in yet because not a whole lot of design to be done in that space. But this is kind of an overview of what we were looking at between the desks and where those might go, at least on this first upper floor. And then at the kitchen, we do have this table with 4 chairs. And one of the other design options we were thinking about is what if we moved this over here and put a banquette seating situation. So that would look something like this, where you have, I guess, 3 chairs kind of situated around a bench that would be running between this column here and the counter and the cabinet here. And this could have some storage, extra stuff for, just kitchen things. And then, mostly be providing seating to sit around this. It could have 2 seats for people. So this is one of the other early stage design options we were thinking of. And we'd still have plenty of room to kind of move and walk around the table there. And we talked about putting another small like cabinet, maybe even like a bar cart or something that can hold plants near this window here to kind of, fill up this space a little bit. But overall, that was kind of one of the initial ideas we had regarding that. That's kind of the 3D model that we've created for the house. All of these pieces, similar to Procreate, you can hide and move around and kind of isolate and really just get a sense for the space in the room, or the space that we have in the house. And I think the most powerful aspect of using a 3D model is having the 2 scale drawings, and you can actually get out a tape measure and measure your pieces of furniture and then create really simple blocks in Blender that are to scale, and then you can really see how those fit into the space. So for us, it's a really fun and interactive way to continue and evolve that design process, especially in our case when we knew we would be moving in and we had the floor plan, but we weren't actually in the space yet. We were able to design this model and then start putting in some of the existing pieces that we knew we had, like the entertainment center and the couch, and just start getting a head start on some of the design process. So that's kind of how we've been using it, and we will continue to reference this model throughout future videos as we start diving specifically into the design of the living room and the bedrooms and stuff like that. So you will see this model come back up, and it's a work in progress. We'll continue to refine and improve it over time, and you'll see that we'll start making essentially a reflection of the real house into this model, which I think should be kind of a fun companion throughout our entire process. So stay tuned for that. And again, if you're interested in specifically how we use Blender, we're planning on putting together a video for just kind of architectural modeling workflows and also furniture design all within Blender. So stay tuned for that.
So now you've got an idea of what we're working with, our design approach, and some insights into our future plans for the house.
So if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more DIY interior design and home projects, like this video and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to us.
We got a ton of fun projects coming up and we can't wait to show you guys.
So, see y'all next time.
Bye!